viewers, you're watching RTD's English News Edition. Here are our top stories for this evening. It was earlier this evening, Kenyan President William Ruto begins 48-hour state visit to Djibouti. Ahead of the IGAD summit, Djibouti welcomes regional leaders. And concerning the current situation in Sudan, warring journalists agreed to 24 hours truce from today, Saturday. Thank you for joining us for this edition. The President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. William Ruto, arrived in Djibouti today, Saturday, earlier evening, where at the invitation of his Djiboutian counterpart, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, he will lead a high-level delegation on a 48-hour state visit. Tomorrow, Sunday, the main stage of his visit to Djibouti, the Kenyan President will be received with full honors at the Palace of the Republic, where he will hold separate talks with the head of state, followed by an extended working meeting that will lead to the adoption of a series of bilateral agreements, notably in the fields of energy, cooperation, tourism, diplomatic training, and cultural exchanges. Djibouti and Kenya share privileged ties of solidarity, cooperation, and friendship woven by the link of history and their common belonging to the same region. The two countries are also steadily increasing their closeness through the spearheading role they play in resolving the main issues on the agenda in this part of the world, notably peace and stability and regional economic integration. His arrival at the Ompuli International Airport, the Kenyan president was welcomed by Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed as part of his state visit to Djibouti, dedicated to strengthening relations of friendship and cooperation between the two nations. President William Ruto is accompanied by a large delegation from his country, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Minister of Defense, Mr. Aden Douale, the National Security Advisor, Mrs. Monica Juma, and the Director of Cabinet, the Presidency, Mr. Josephat, among others, accompanied the Kenyan President on this mission to Djibouti. And the joint commission between Djibouti and Kenya, which began on May 8th at the Diplomatic Institute, was concluded today. More details in this video.
Commission between Djibouti and Kenya, which began on May 8th at the Diplomatic Institute, has concluded today. The commission was co-chaired by Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Djibouti Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and his counterpart, Mr. Alfred Mutua, Kenyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Both parties expressed satisfaction with the level of bilateral relations between the two countries and emphasized the determination of the leaders and governments of both countries to develop them in accordance with common interests and benefits. They praised the spirit of cooperation and coordination between the two brotherly countries in all international forums. The proceedings culminated in the joint signing of the bilateral cooperation agreement by Minister Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and his Kenyan counterpart, Mr. Alfred Mutua, the ambassador of Djibouti to Kenya, Mr. Yasin Elmibuh, and the ambassador of Kenya to Djibouti, Mr. Salim Mohammed Salim, were also present during this commission. Additionally, several actors from various sectors of the public administration participated in this joint commission.
In speaking at this joint commission, the co-chair, the Kenyan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Alfred Mutua, said the following.
Remarkable that our two countries have had a lot of, years of relations, and we open our embassies here, and we are working towards a place whereby we can both say we are benefiting tremendously as a result of our relationship. Therefore, this JCC comes in at a very important time. But it needs to be a JCC that can be implemented, as has been spoken about. We don't want something that is just left in the air, where things just go downhill and things are not followed up until the very last minute. So the implementation matrix, and I'm waiting to hear what you've come up with, because we had a few suggestions of how we can improve how we are going to implement. There are very many areas that we can work on. I mean, we're doing very well with energy. I was reading the brief on the energy sector. Yeah, with your geothermal, I think one of the wells is ready. And the other one, we are trying to see whether we can speed up the bringing together of the technology that is required to continue the drilling of the oil wells. I think this is very good for Djibouti, also for us. Kenya Airways being able to resume its flights between here, and I hope that by tomorrow we'll be able to work on this and get it happening. After this meeting, we'll make a few phone calls to Nairobi and see whether we can get resumption of flights. It's very good for Kenya if the flights are here, because it's good for our business people.
Ali Yusuf, Djiboutian Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, talk about the level of bilateral relations between the two countries. Here is his version.
Your Excellencies, during 2 days of hard work, our both teams have done a tremendous job and delivered quite a remarkable outcome in the framework of this second GCC between Djibouti and Kenya. They have focused on a number of agreements, protocols, MOUs that cover the core matters and key sectors our both countries would like to promote and develop within the framework of our bilateral cooperation. Energy, trade, tourism, education, security, and justice are some of the main areas of interest for both countries, and we will be signing agreements tomorrow, God willing, in front of our principals, pertaining to some of them in front of our presidents, as I said. So those agreements and documents, of course, are prepared by our teams. I would like to seize this opportunity to thank them all for their hard work. We'll be listening, in a few minutes' time, the minutes. We'll be listening to the presidents of our two teams, and they will be briefing us on the minutes of those 2 days' meetings. That periodic mechanism with a reasonable time frame is indeed necessary. The mechanism will have to conduct the assessment and the evaluation process. That's a proposal once a year, or if we want to be more proactive, once every 6 months, dependent on every country's rules and regulations. Your Excellencies and dear brothers and sisters, Kenya and Djibouti and other countries in our region have the potential to speed up the process of integration of our economies. We need to set the course for a harmonious and a common development agenda for the mutual benefits of our peoples.
The IGAD summit scheduled for June 12, 2023 is set to take place in Djibouti, and the leaders of IGAD member countries are expected to attend. Some of the force leaders have already arrived in Djibouti this Saturday. In a significant arrival, the Vice President of the Transitional Sovereign Council of Sudan landed at the Ambuli International Airport earlier today. Upon his arrival, the Vice President was warmly welcomed by Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre, the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Waqf. Subsequently, the Sudanese Vice President and the Minister of Foreign Affairs held a brief meeting in the airport's VIP lounge. The discussions focused on enhancing cooperation between Djibouti and Sudan and exploring ways to further strengthen their ties. It is important to note that the Vice President of the Transitional Sovereign Council will be participating in the IGAD Summit, which will open its doors on June 12 at the Kempinski Hotel in Djibouti. In other news of this edition, Mr. Ismail Ibrahim Roble, Minister of Budget, accompanied by his technical advisor in charge of ministerial reform, participated in a regional conference and steering committee meeting of METAC in Beirut, Lebanon. This participation confirms the willingness to resume partnership relations with this center, the Middle East Technical Assistance Center, METAC, established in October 2004 through collaboration between the International Monetary Fund, Member countries and bilateral and multilateral development partners aims to help its members advance public policies and institutions that promote inclusive and sustainable growth, ultimately improving the living standards of all citizens. Djibouti's participation in this regional conference, coinciding with the meeting of the steering committee, demonstrates its commitment and investment, along with other regional members, in engaging in this conference that address major issues in the context of public finance reform in Djibouti. Still in the national news, in-depth coverage on a development and drought fighting organization, the IGAD, which 10 years after its establishment in 1986 is expanding its mission to become a pivotal regional or key regional player across multiple domains. More details in this report. Established in 1986 as a development organization focused on combating drought, IGAD has expanded its mandate 10 years later in 1996, becoming an influential regional player in multiple fields. Among its area of responsibility are economic cooperation and regional integration, healthcare and social development, agriculture and the environment, and most importantly, the promotion of peace and security. The key role played by IGAD led to its official recognition by the African Union in the early 2000s as one of the 8 regional economic communities. IGAD's objective is to broaden the scope of regional cooperation, ensure mutual support among its members, and advocate for policies that promote peace and stability in the region, with the ultimate goal of achieving food security, sustainable environmental management, and overall sustainable development.
The establishment of IGAD was the member states at that time, they convinced that they cannot resolve some of their issues individually or by their own selves. So since most of the member states are very close neighboring states, they share common culture, they share common language and other different commonalities that they have, they has concluded that they need an organization which serves the interest of all member states. That's why at that time IGAD, IADD, has come to be one of a regional bloc, an organization which serves in terms of in the area of peace and security, area of agriculture and climate change, in the area of migration, and also trade, investment, and most importantly, on the regional integration issue. IGAD is very vibrant organization which is serving the interest of our member states. In fact, on the principle of non-interference on the internal affairs of our member states, but working to support the people of this region in terms of peace and security. The other area that I have to mention for you is the issue of integration that you have already said to me as well.
This strategy of these authorities thus geared towards the sustainable economic development of its member states. Special emphasis and high priority are placed on regional integration and economic cooperation to promote collective socio-economic integrated and long-term autonomous development. This entails promoting joint development strategies and gradually harmonizing macroeconomic programs and policies in the social, technological, and scientific domains. According to IGAD, the fourth step is to harmonize policies related to trade, customs, transportation, communications, agriculture, and natural resources, while promoting the free movement of goods, services, and people within the sub-region. It also aims to create a conducive environment for external, internal, and cross-border trade as well as investment. Furthermore, IGAD aims to develop and promote programs and projects to achieve regional food security, sustainable development of natural resources, and environmental protection. It encourages and supports member states' initiatives in their collective fight against drought and other natural or man-made disasters and their consequences. One of its major objectives is to develop complementary coordinated infrastructure in the fields of transportation, telecommunication, and energy within the sub-region. Additionally, IGAD seeks to promote peace and stability through a sub-regional mechanism for the prevention, management, and resolution of interstate disputes through dialogue, as explained by Dr. Warkine Gebeyehu, the Executive Secretary of IGAD. The recent developments in the Sudan conflict have shed light on the efforts of regional leaders, including President Ismail Mergele of the Republic of Djibouti, who are working through the established mechanism of the African Union and IGAD to bring an end to the Sudanese dispute.
His Excellency President Ismail have a very crucial role. He is a well-respected region of the leader of the region. He have an ear of not only the leaders of this region, but beyond. So his wisdom, his counsel is very important on areas that we face the challenge. Personally, me, as Executive Secretary also, I'm very near to His Excellency that we are benefited a lot. Indeed, we are expecting a more very important leadership. Djibouti can help. Djibouti is a peaceful country, for example. Djibouti has no conflict with other member states. Djibouti is an oasis of peace for us. So these all are a big capital for Djibouti and the people of Djibouti, of course, that really help to play a greater role in this organization and beyond, not only in this organization. Djibouti was the member of Security Council before 2 years, if you remember. So the small size country, but very in terms of diplomacy, acceptance, we're very happy that we are very lucky that to have Djibouti, our member state. No one can be very near to the Sudanese than the region, the member state, the neighboring countries. That is why we did an urgent meeting, the summit. That summit has already pointed out the importance of negotiation, peaceful, resolve this thing peacefully, and the leaders are doing their best on that issue. As Executive Secretary, I was doing day and night to bring these parties to the negotiating table. We were talking with both parties as well as international partners as well. So still the effort is there, but we have not yet succeeded to stop this fighting. But now this is an opportunity, another opportunity, having the heads of states and governments of the region here in Djibouti next week. That will be also one of the agendas that they are going to discuss, to put additional concrete proposal to resolve this conflict.
The Republic of Djibouti, under the guidance of its esteemed head of state, has a wealth of experience in conducting such dialogues, as exemplified by its successful mediation in the Somali conflict. As a respected advocate for peace and a leader with extensive expertise, President Gele is poised to employ his diplomatic skills during the upcoming IGAD summit in Djibouti, thereby making a significant contribution to the resolution of the Sudanese dispute. Establishing a cross-border health coordination committee in Loya Adda is the objective of the technical meeting organized by the teams of the project on digitization health data in IGAD region. Explanations in this report.
Establishing a cross-border health coordination committee in Loya Adda is the objective of the technical meeting organized by the teams of the project on digitizing health data in the IGAD region, which commenced on Tuesday, June 6, 2023, in the sub-prefecture of Damerjog at the outskirts of the Arta region. Sponsored by the sub-prefect of Damerjog, Mr. Abdelrashid Noor, the official opening ceremony of the meeting served as an opportunity to recall the context and importance of cross-border collaboration. Following the official speeches, the technical discussions allowed for a review of the expectations of the cross-border committees, which are expected to provide a platform for local stakeholders to actively participate and engage in COVID-19 surveillance and response activities. In this regard, those committees will guide the local stakeholders or cross-border actors on the scope and progress of common health activities in transboundary areas such as Loya Adda, for example. More generally, the cross-border committees will ensure the monitoring of the functioning of the health data sharing mechanism in a simple, secure, transparent, and respectful manner, in accordance with human rights and medical code of ethics. More specifically, IGAD harbors a special ambition for the Loya Adda Cross-Border Health Coordination Committee. The committee will establish a shared understanding of the 2005 International Health Regulations for all cross-border agencies and promote the joint resolution of problems based on trustful relationships with their cross-border counterparts.
On Thursday, June 8, 2013, the National Institute of Administration and Professional Training, INAP, held a certificate award ceremony for the completion of a long-term training program in English in the professional environment in collaboration with the Embassy of the United States of America. The training program was conducted by an American expert, Mr. Douglas Justin, who possesses extensive experience in teaching English in professional settings. The program lasted for 8 months from September 2022 to June 2023. In addition, the representative of the U.S. Embassy congratulated the participants on their successful completion of the training and praised the English language sketch performed during the event. At the end of the ceremony, certificates were distributed to the 59 participants who excelled in the training program. And during his speech, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Labor expressed gratitude for the support of the embassy in providing technical assistance and facilitating the presence of such an experienced expert from the INAP. He also acknowledged the fruitful collaboration between INAP and international diplomatic organizations in conducting these training activities. The Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development concluded a crucial training workshop on the management of sheep biopooling at the People's Palace on Thursday morning. The workshop garnered a significant participation from attendees who eagerly embraced the opportunity to enhance their knowledge over the course of the two-day training. By conducting this training, the Ministry seeks to assess and mitigate the national risks associated with biopooling, a pressing concern in marine environment. The primary objective of the workshop was to equip participants with vital information and practical skills pertaining to control and monitoring methods for effectively implementing guidelines addressing the control and management of sheep, as well as the ultimate goal to minimize the transfer of invasive aquatic species, safeguarding aquatic ecosystems. In the fight against drug trafficking in all its forms, the Army seized a significant quantity of cannabis in the Ali Adi sector. This substantial drug merchandise consisted of 25 packages filled with cannabis intended to be transported in large quantities to the capital. Subsequently, the smuggler was taken to the Ali Sabih Gendarmerie Brigade for further investigation. Considering the seriousness of the offense, the person involved was brought before the court to answer for their actions. And on June 6, 2023, a ceremony commemorating the 60th anniversary of the creation of the Djiboutian Army was held, this time in Somalia. These festivities took place in Jalalaqsi and were presided over by the commander of Hill 10 Battalion, Commander Mohammed. After a troop review and the raising of the colors, the Chief of General Staff Agenda, General Corps Commander Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, was read before the troops and then discussed with civilians and military guests present at the podium. Subsequently, the traditional military parade was carried out by the soldiers of Hill Walal 10 Battalion, despite being thousands of kilometers apart. The execution of the various parades on June 6 was perfectly synchronized, as evidenced by the one in Jalalaqsi. This was followed by the laying of wreaths at the foot of the monuments to the fallen soldiers, for those soldiers who fought and sacrificed themselves for our values and the peace of our Somali brothers. May Allah welcome them into His eternal paradise. The Djiboutian Army expresses a deep sympathy to the bereaved families whose pride in the heroism of their loved ones is justified. May our heroes rest in peace, and may their sacrifice remain etched forever in our hearts and memories. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. During this event, the commander of Hill Battalion, as well as all Djiboutian soldiers, conveyed their greetings to the President of the Republic, the First Lady, members of the government, the Chief of the General Staff, as well as to all our military personnel and their families. The ceremony was celebrated with joy while maintaining the highest level of alertness, especially during this sensitive period. On Friday afternoon, under the impetus of the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hiba Mumin Asowe, the traditional summer activities program was launched at La Siesta Beach. It took place in front of a gathering of young people with the refreshing sea breeze and the blue sea, creating an atmosphere of exchange and sharing. The first animation awareness activity took place on Friday afternoon at La Siesta. The objective of this activity is to provide the numerous young people who frequent this beach during weekends with the opportunity to participate in recreational, cultural, sports, and connective activities. It also aims to create spaces for raising awareness among these young people about civic and citizen culture, unity and solidarity values, and environmental protection. The young girls and boys present at the event welcomed the stars of the ministry's summer activities, which coincide with the month of commemorating the 46th anniversary of independence. They expressed their enthusiasm for seizing this opportunity to enjoy good times with joy and patriotic fervor. And as part of the upcoming summer games scheduled for the 15th of this month, a technical training session was conducted yesterday at the Guled Stadium for sports facilitators. Referees and coaches will be ready for the summer games thanks to a technical training organized by the sports authorities. Sports facilitators from the capital city and the 5 interior regions receive certificates upon completion of the training, attesting that they are now capable of ensuring the smooth organization of the games. During the training, the participants learned the rules of the traditional games that will be played during the summer games. The training was conducted by the Deputy Director General and the Director of the Sports Complex of Training. They shared with the participants the techniques to be used in order to ensure a well-organized event throughout the games. In collaboration with the Directorate of General Administration and Regulation, the project funded by USAID aimed at supporting civil society engagement in the local development process organized the second workshop on popularizing the law 1901 in the interior regions, launched in June 2022. This project aims to strengthen citizen participation in the local development process to improve service delivery to citizens. This improvement requires a strong partnership between civil society organizations and the government of Djibouti, as well as among the CSOs themselves. The project will contribute to creating an enabling environment for CSOs by enhancing their organizational capacity and their ability to collaborate and coordinate with regional councils and other stakeholders. Moreover, the project pays particular attention to the preventing and mitigating gender-based violence. The workshop concluded with a session of discussion and exchange during which participants expressed their enthusiasm for the future of their respective associations thanks to the knowledge gained during this day. And the population of Obok organized a farewell event to honor the former prefect, Mr. Abdul Malik Mohammed Benoita, who has been transferred to Asijok. The gathering took place on an Independence Square near the Regional Council building and was attended by elected officials, community leaders, and residents of Obok. During the event, speakers expressed gratitude for Mr. Abdul Malik's services to the region and praised the people of Obok for their strong sense of community and love for their region. The outgoing prefect thanked the attendees and encouraged them to warmly welcome his successor, Mr. Musa Abdi Migani. The event concluded with the cutting of a cake prepared in honor of Mr. Abdul Malik and the presentation of a gift by the council officials. Shifting our attention now in Somalia, last night at least 7 heavily armed men belonging to the terrorist group Al-Shabaab launched a direct attack on a hotel called Bir Beach in Lido, Mogadishu. Details in this report with Dini Musa.
At least 7 heavily armed men belonging to the terrorist group Al-Shabaab launched a direct attack on a hotel called Pearl Beach in Lido, Mogadishu. Today, the Somali police confirmed that the Shabaab group responsible for the attack has been neutralized during the night. The attack claimed the lives of 6 civilians and left 10 others injured. Additionally, the police statement confirmed that 3 soldiers from the hotel's security forces were killed in the assailants' attacks. Since yesterday, Friday, many young people have occupied the hotels along the Lido beach and 84 civilians were rescued from the attack. All 7 conspirators from Al-Shabaab terrorist group involved in the attack were killed, with some of them detonating explosive. Today, the situation has returned to normal for the traders and residents in the Pearl Beach Hotel where the attack took place. The last attack in Mogadishu by the Shabaab terrorist group was on January 22nd, targeting the administrative center of Benadir region in various regions of the country. It is estimated that the attacks by the Al-Shabaab group have decreased and many areas have been liberated in the past 8 months.
Other news in the continent, and to wrap up with this edition, with a warship from Egypt has docked in Port Sudan carrying 70 tons of humanitarian and bringing a glimmer of hope to a country where 25 million civilians are in need. Dini Musa for more details.
A warship from Egypt has docked in Port Sudan carrying 270 tons of humanitarian aid, bringing a glimmer of hope to a country where 25 million civilians are in need. Sudan has been plagued by conflict, resulting in 1,800 deaths and nearly 2 million displaced people since April 15. Out of those, over 408,000 have sought refuge in the neighboring countries. Egypt have been accommodating over 200,000 Sudanese refugees and will continue to welcome them as brothers in their homeland rather than guests in another country. As stated by Hani Ramzi, the Egyptian ambassador to Khartoum, despite ongoing fighting, the warring parties have agreed to a 24-hour ceasefire announced by the Saudi mediator on Friday, set to take effect on Saturday. However, this ceasefire is just one of many, as previous truces have been repeatedly violated by the troops of General Al-Burhan and Daglo.
And that's all for this edition. Thank you for joining us on the radio television of Djibouti. Have a wonderful evening.